Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke Payson. Welcome back to everyone who is already a subscriber to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe so you can see more great interviews, including the one coming at you right now. Super excited to have an undefeated amateur phenom at 8-0 in MMA, just a few weeks away, I guess more like close to a month, 3-4 weeks away from making his pro debut on September 14th in Indiana. Super excited to have back on the show, Gabe Tag Eurit.
I'm
Gabe,
happy to
welcome
be
back on
back,
the show.
man. Happy to
It's
be back.
really great to have you back on the show. You were kind enough to come on the show for the first time, headed into your fight for 247 Fighting Championships, which at the time you were 7-0. You're now 8-0. You got a great win, hard fought win over a really tough opponent. And now that will be your final amateur MMA fight as you will officially be going pro September 14th. Before we get to the September 14th card, let's talk a little bit about your fight over Noah Kisko, who at the time was 4-0. So you were 7-0, he was 4-0. An incredible matchup between undefeated amateur fighters. You ended up getting the split decision win. Talk a little bit about that fight and how did you know that it was time to go pro after that win?
The fight was a tough fight, which I definitely needed. There was a lot of adversity that I faced. No, I really thought that I was just gonna go in there and finish him, but the fact that I went through all that is good. And I don't know, I just there's nobody else to fight as an amateur, so I'm ready. I'm ready to make the switch.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. 8-0 as an amateur. Really, anybody probably 4-0, Noah included, and before your fight and up, kind of are pro ready. I mean, most of the time, you ended up developing a little bit longer. I think that shows a lot to you and to your coaches. Obviously, your skill set to really round out your skill set before going pro. You also came on the road. You're from Indiana. You came into Pittsburgh for 247 Fighting Championship, which was a great promotion.
Which I love. So yeah, I love that.
Hey, that's great. What was it like? What was it like going on the road? I know as like an amateur, that's one of the things you wanted to really make sure you could do, and I'm sure you've done that before, but get those road wins where the crowd's against you, because at the professional level, particularly at the UFC or PFL level, you end up fighting places which are not your hometown.
Yeah. I mean, I like traveling anyways, so it was kind of a win-win for me. But all my fights have been in Indiana, so that was my first time driving. So and yeah, 6.5 hours. Cutting weight was not fun, but I got to make it a trip. I went with my girlfriend and my teammate, so I mean, it was a good time. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
I remember when we talked on this channel coming in that fight. I remember that going on the road was a big deal for you. I didn't quite remember that it was your first road trip, but that's even better. I know 247 was honored to have you. Great matchmaking by Jim Mooney, the legendary matchmaker, has since stepped away from the promotion, but really fantastic. Just a high level fight. What's it been like training and getting ready? You're going to be fighting about 2 hours away from where you live, so I encourage everybody that's in your fan club to make that trip. You only make your pro debut once. What's it been like training for this pro fight? Are you doing longer rounds, kind of the bigger rule set? Like, what's it been like prepping for your pro debut?
Yeah, just adding 2 minutes to the clock and throwing some more elbows. That's about it.
Yeah, that's true. As
Yeah.
long as long as you don't hurt your sparring partners too much with elbows, it's one of those harder things to practice. I think most of the time elbows are practiced on either pads or kind of mimicked in sparring. For people that don't know, it's really hard because of the ability to cut people. It's really hard to kind of use elbows. You can be using pads and stuff on your elbows to kind of work it. But what's it been like physically and then also mentally doing the pro prep work?
Nothing really changes as far as the physical and mental thing. Like as an amateur, I trained really hard. I prepare. Like I'm in very good shape when I fight. So obviously I'm always looking to improve, and I'm not it's not the fact that I'm going pro that it's gonna change. I'm always gonna be looking to improve and get better, and like adding that 2 minutes onto the clock, like different fight strategies, everything. Um yeah, I don't know, just nothing really changes now that it's pro, other than there's 2 more minutes and the rule set's a little different. But yeah, just focusing on getting better everywhere.
Well, and it's a great mindset to have. You have a championship high level mindset going. 8-0 in your amateur career. We already talked about the Noah Kiska fight, and he's a great fighter. And obviously, I'm
Hmm.
going to see him more because he's from the Pittsburgh area. And losing to you by split decision really kind of shows that he's at a pretty good level. But you also took out a guy who previously, I'm going to try to say his last name. I think it's pretty easy to pronounce. Simon Tag or Tiag. Uh,
Yes, Simeon Teague.
Oh, thank you. See, I appreciate
Yeah,
it. Simeon,
yeah,
Simeon,
yeah.
appreciate the pronunciation help. And he was 7-1 before you fought him. And so you fought a lot of guys and some very high level opponents in your amateur career. What are your thoughts on sort of, and this is a great question I like to ask kind of people coming out of their amateur career, no matter how short or long it is. What do you think is the biggest thing you learned about yourself as far as like development, confidence, that type of stuff, or whatever, as well as also the sport of MMA as you transition to the pro level?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I learned is you gotta keep progressing everywhere because fights are gonna continue to get harder and harder. It's tested me in a lot of ways, mentally, physically, everything. The biggest thing that I learned is I gotta work hard. If I want to make this a career and do it, I gotta work really hard.
Hmm. Yeah, I bet the hard work is probably the most important, as well as also the preparation. What's your main gym, and what's it been like training with them? Through your MMA and now getting your amateur career, now getting into pro level.
Yeah, so I train at Gaha BJJ in Kokomo. Um I'm sorry, what were you asking?
What's it been like going from the developmental through their gym and now being one of the pros? Because I know a lot of gyms kind of go through ebbs and flows where they have a lot of amateurs, and those amateurs develop into pros, then it becomes kind of a pro gym, and then sometimes pro gyms
Yeah.
are such pro gyms they don't have a lot of amateurs. So what's it been like kind of developing through that gym?
Yeah, our guys, we're all mixed in. We don't have a
Uh,
whole lot of fighters, we're not a super big gym, but with that being said, like all of our amateurs, they're high level. Everybody is at a high level, so it kind of all mixes in. And then when we have guys just starting, we put them in the mix and we treat them well until they're good enough to compete with us. It's a everything's built on respect there. We got a lot of high level amateurs and a lot of pros. It's all mixed together. So back to what I was saying earlier, like nothing really changes, man. It's just the same stuff we've been doing.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Great shout out to your gym. I personally think small gyms. I know like the big gyms with the dorms and all that to have international fighters can be great, but I think small gyms are a great representative of that gym. Let's talk about the fight itself. What's your if you're going to make a prediction? What's your prediction? What's your thought on your opponent? I know there's a mindset that you got to take the fighters, particularly at the pro level, that are willing to sign and that are willing to give you the opportunity to kind of make your progress through. So, what are your thoughts on your opponent, and what are your thoughts on how you guys match up?
Um, I think I'm better everywhere. I mean, I think Noah Kiska would go whoop this dude. So, I'm gonna go out there and knock him out in the first round, definitely.
I love a prediction. I know not everybody gives a prediction. I'm open to the fact that not everybody wants to give predictions. I'm cool with that. I think psychologically sometimes, people don't like giving predictions. Completely okay. Love the compliment to Noah Kiska. I think that's very respectful. I've often kind of talked about because that I'm a counselor by trade, and so I care about the sports psychology. I think for particularly MMA, where it's such personal, it's not like you're a member of the Steelers or something like that, where it's kind of a team environment. It's such personal that if you beat somebody, you want them. This is the MMA world. You want them to go on and have a great career because it makes your win over them more significant. Whether it be Simeon that we talked about, who obviously had a great amateur career, or Noah, and obviously the same thing happens when when at some point if you were to lose. that's another thing that people on this show I think have really shared, that you kind of want the person who beats you to go on and have a great career because it makes your loss kind of more understandable. Whoever that is, it's such an intimate and personal situation with fighting. So great shout out to Noah. Obviously, your opponent and you are going to be fighting on the pro rule set. What are your thoughts as far as? I would love it. I want you back on the show once you get your win. What are your thoughts? How do you mentally regroup? First round KO is your prediction. Obviously, if you get a first round KO, that's incredible. Can't wait to talk to you about it. How do you regroup on the stool? Let's say, and you've had this, I'm sure, in your amateur career, you had some finishes, you had some decisions. 8-0 win streak is just incredible, undefeated. But how do you regroup if you get to the stool and let's say your opponent isn't knocked out on the canvas? And I hope he is. I'm just saying, psychologically, how do you kind of regroup?
I mean, this sport is very mental. You know, you're losing battles every day, and it's not always as big as not making my shot that I'm calling, you know. So if that were to happen, I just keep working, man. Keep going. You know, I'm gonna fail. It's inevitable. Failure is inevitable everywhere. So, but I'm also not, you know, I'm confident. I'm confident in myself. I truly believe, I'm telling you right now, I truly believe I'll go out there and knock him out in the first round.
Awesome. I love it. And I appreciate the answer. It is very much a mental game as far as pushing yourself against failure. Failure strengthens you. You know, you can't really get better without failures. Hopefully in the gym, that's one of the things that, there's an old fight shirt that says train easy, fight hard. I mean, sorry, train hard, fight easy. Got that
Yeah,
backwards. Dang
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Train hard, fight easy. But that is a big mindset, right? So you're an incredible representative of MMA, intelligent, focused, the mindset, confidence, you need confidence, but also the humility to put the work in the gym. When I was running the gym, I always told people, you want to be humble in training and confident in fighting, right? Go in there, celebrate, do the face-off thing, whatever that you need to kind of get the mental edge, jump on the cage, even though the commissioners don't like it. Celebrate, do all that stuff. But the reality is, in the gym, you can't have an ego. You got to be willing to push and fail in the gym so that you can win in the cage. It's always incredible having you on the show. I really appreciate continuing to be able to follow you. Obviously, who knows? You might get back to Pittsburgh at some point to fight at the pro level. We don't know what the future is, but I really appreciate being able to kind of follow you out there in Indiana and kind of see where your career goes next. September 14th is going to come quick for people in the Indiana area that can make the drive. Start getting tickets. I'm sure they can get tickets from you. So start hitting.
Yes, sir.
Yep, start hitting tag up for tickets. Most of the time, gyms will also have tickets. So reach out, get your tickets. Make sure you're there to support him in person for his pro debut. I really appreciate having you on the show. It's such an honor. Can't wait to continue to follow your career. You've been listening to undefeated 8-0 amateur, high level, high ranked fighter. I didn't look up your Tapology ratings, but I'm sure they're very, very high as an 8-0 amateur. We'll just say you're the top ranked amateur, pretty much out there in the region right now, if not all the country. So I really appreciate you coming on. This has been Luke Payson from MMA Fancast with Gabe Tag Eurit. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, brother.
You got it.